Welcome back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show. I was telling our next guest, Greg Zanetti, about our fully functional broadcast museum. And I mean, my headphones say Radio Shack, you know. I mean, we're keeping up the history. You don't need to wear those.
Okay. But the headphones look cool.
They do kind of, well, they look cool on me because I'm old school, but I don't know if you want to have that screenshot out there anywhere. So Greg Zanetti is with us. Greg, thanks for coming in.
Gene, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show today.
I was trying to get caught up with you because I don't know if we ever interviewed or had talked.
You look familiar. I know I've met you.
Yeah, because you ran for lieutenant governor way
back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in '94 with not with Gary Johnson, because it was separate. You know, you run in the primary, and Walter Bradley won that race. There were two of us from Bernalillo County in the race, and then Walter. And Walter wasn't stupid. He worked all the rural areas. He said, "Don't vote for the city boys." And, and by the way, Walter is a great guy, and he was a really good lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
So it all works out.
Well, and I think that's when I got to meet and know John Dendall.
Oh, John was a good egg.
Because he ran for the nomination for governor, and Gary Johnson won that, and then he went on to
chair the party
for a while. And John helped me out with a very interesting family thing that I was trying to do for some folks back home, and so I just really enjoyed working with John. And
I miss John.
He moved to Colorado, didn't he?
He did, and he passed away.
That's what I thought. So here you go again, trying to get in the politics. But
what am I thinking?
Yeah, what are you thinking? Well, let's do a little background info. Tell us about yourself and your family.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I was raised in Albuquerque. I went to Valley High School. From Valley to West Point. I graduated from there in 1980, served on active duty. The Army was very nice to me, Gene. They paid for my master's degree in business from Boston University. Okay. By the way, I married my high school sweetheart. I married the homecoming queen. We've been married 41 years. She was a state representative here for about 6 years.
Okay.
From up in Albuquerque. Anyway, we've got two boys, aged 28 and 26. Anyway, when I came, after 6 years of active duty, I came back to New Mexico. So I started managing money.
Okay.
And that was with E.F. Hutton back in the day. And then I went independent in 91. But in Albuquerque, I chaired the county party twice. I chaired term limits. I chaired right to work. I was on the Right to Life committee for, golly, how many years? Maybe 20 years. So all the conservative credentials that you'd expect. Plus, I was on KOB TV for about a decade and KKOB radio for, I don't know, 30 years.
I bet they don't have anything like this in their studio.
You'd be surprised. They're all very similar. Radio's a tough business.
I know. I was telling Greg
I
about
love you guys.
fully functional broadcast museum that we have here in Artesia. So
anyway, I owed the Army time, though, from the master's degree.
Okay.
So they said, Zanetti, if you'll join the Guard or Reserves for 4 years, I forget. We'll call it square. So,
wow.
Gene, I joined the Guard.
Okay.
I loved the National Guard. It fit me. The citizen soldier thing, called up when needed, neighbors, that kind of stuff. Well, all right, so during the week, I built a business. On the weekends, I put on the uniform. I made rank.
Wow.
By 2005, I was General Zanetti.
Okay.
And in 2007, we got deployed, my brigade, to Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, so you were there.
I was the commanding general.
Okay.
So I started as a deputy commander, and then I became the commander. And so anyway, boy, did my view of the world change at Gitmo. I mean, stuff I thought I knew about politics. Gee, I can't tell you how wrong I was. When I saw the political football that Gitmo was, both Republicans and Democrats, and CNN, and MSNBC, and Fox News, and the Miami Herald, and all these human rights groups, supposedly. Anyway, my education level soared. So if you're looking for a governor who understands, I don't know, political footballs and big bureaucracies, and how they can either work for you or against you, I'd ask you to consider the Zanetti for Governor campaign. Anyway, when I came back, go ahead.
Because you got to see these people that were captured on the battlefield, that were being detained.
Oh, every day. I know them. I mean, I see these guys who get released, and, oh, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him. Oh, someday I'll regale you with Gitmo stories.
Yeah, well, don't want to do that today.
No, probably not today. Anyway, when I got back, Gene, I didn't have a job when I got back. I had to sell my business. I couldn't take care of clients from Cuba. So Anyway, I got a call.
You could have free cigars.
Yeah.
With a new account.
Actually, I should have had you with me. That might have worked.
Anyway.
It's pretty funny. I got a call from a high school friend, another Valley Viking, and here's the controversial part about me. He had become Bill Gates' money manager.
Okay.
Gene, the guy.
Bill Gates, Microsoft founder.
Microsoft, right, not the foundation, Bill himself.
Okay.
So he said, hey, Greg, we want you to come up here to Seattle and manage money for Bill. Well, I didn't have a job, so we packed up and we moved to Seattle. And I was grateful for the opportunity. Just please, I'm not a fan of Mr. Gates and what he stands for. And in fact, it goes beyond not a fan. I really viscerally object to what he's done and what he's doing. So please know that. But did I learn an awful lot about money? I mean, I'd been in it 20 years, and it was kind of like Gitmo. Oh my gosh, this is how it really works? This is how billions move? This is how the markets really move? It was a real eye-opener for me. So I managed money not just for him, but other billionaires up in Seattle. Well, I'm telling people, look, if you think all this money printing is going to end badly, and if you think that's going to spill out into the streets here with rising crime, rising civil unrest, just rising discomfort as people feel this financial strain, I'm probably your guy, because I really understand money. And if you think a governor ought to understand the financial markets for the pension funds and actually how to rebuild after we have, I call it the shift, because it's coming. And if you want somebody who has a heart for public safety, the General Zanetti part, again, I'd ask you to consider Zanetti for governor campaign.
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you talk about the money aspect of things, and the retirement fund
right
is a huge issue in New Mexico, and we'll have you back to talk about some of these other issues. But I want to ask you this question, because this comes up every time I get a call from somebody that's a Republican running for governor. You're I hate to say it, but I mean, I'm going to just say it. If you're watching online, you can see
a white guy.
You're a white guy.
Yeah, I am. I'm not transgender. I'm not any of that stuff.
I didn't ask anything about that. But what gives you hope, or what do you want to say to people to say, look, I think you'll do well in this part of the state, and you'll do well in this part of the state, but the fact is you got to do well in Cruces, you got to do well in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, you got to pick up some votes in the northern New Mexico. So how does a white male financial guy with military background become successful as governor, or get to be the governor in New Mexico?
Totally legitimate question.
Okay.
First, remember I'm from Bernalillo County, and I went to Valley High School, not to La Cueva or El Dorado or one of the Heights schools,
or even Albuquerque Academy.
No. I can't tell you how many friends I have in Bernalillo County. And from all the years on radio and TV there, people kind of know me. They did a poll. My positives in Bernalillo County, and we've got to carry it. We just have to. Otherwise, all the great stuff you do down here is for naught. My positives are 4-to-1 to my negatives. People like me. The other great thing is the National Guard. Gee, nobody really cared. When you're in uniform, we never asked if you were Republican or Democrat. We were all in uniform together. Gee, I can go anywhere in this state and call up Sergeant Armijo or, I don't know, Captain Gonzalez, or, I don't know, Specialist Smith, and say, hey, I'm coming back. I'm coming up to Espanola. Can you get a crowd for me? Yes, sir, I can do that for you. And it's about the message. Here's what I think is happening. I think they've pushed it too far, Gene. The Democrats have gone so far left. I mean, there's so many conservative Democrats who are saying, look, we need something else. I didn't sign on for this. And many of them are with us. They're pro-life. They're pro-gun. They don't like the big taxes. They're not actually big fans of government. Yet they walk into the booth and they hit D. So why do they do that? Well, part of it is these promises that the Democrats have made. We're going to take care of you. We love you. We'll take care of you.
Right.
Those mean old Republicans, oh, they'll never do that.
Right.
Gene, they're breaking the promises. The pensions aren't what they used to be. People who thought they could retire after 30 years suddenly can't and taking second jobs. They feel betrayed. This happened 90 years ago. New Mexico used to be Republican. Did you know that? We were Republican from the Civil War up to 1930. That's why we didn't get into the Union, because we wouldn't accept slavery. Anyway, the Republican Party dominated, but it had become corrupt. We got to acknowledge that. Then the Depression hit, and New Mexicans felt betrayed. And when they felt betrayed, the switch flipped. I think we're coming full circle.
Okay.
And so what we have to do is we have to give them permission to vote Republican. And that means we can't do the "see, I told you so" thing.
Yeah.
All right, here's our vision. This is what we're going to offer instead. And we can do that at another show, because you'll just get me
Right.
going
Well,
here.
a couple of other questions, because some big topics in this part of the state. The governor seems to be bipolar when it comes to the oil and gas industry.
Oh, she wants that money.
She wants the money, but
she doesn't like you.
You know, doesn't like the industry and the smell and all that other kind of stuff. Plus, there's been a lot of concern. You know, you're seeing people running for school board, this critical race theory.
Sure.
The way education is structured in New Mexico, thanks to Bill Richardson, you know.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
why have school boards locally when
Right.
everything seems to be run out of Santa Fe? So kind of give us some of your thoughts on those types of issues.
Well, let's start backwards. Let's start with the schools.
Yeah.
And you're right. Public Education Department, PED, that was a Richardson invention. I mean, prior, local school boards took care of local communities, local schools, and it worked.
Right.
All right, so we've had the PED for what, 2 decades? Gene, has the New Mexico education system, have our schools improved at all over 30 years?
I think we're staring up at Arkansas.
Yeah, right. And by the way, the schools that do the best are in this part of the state, by the way.
Right.
You guys are the shining light. But if you had an employee who did a lousy job for 20 years, I mean, at some point, what do you say? This isn't working.
Right.
So what can the governor do? Can the governor get rid of the PED? No, but can you declaw it? Sure. I mean, you can take away responsibilities. I mean, you can get rid of regulations. And by the way, they just sent down 129 pages of regulations all around CRT, but they don't call it that.
No.
But it is.
Yes, it is.
Can the governor stop all that? Yes. And can the governor retract their authority and, again, push accountability and authority down to the local level where it belongs? Yes. The second thing that we ought to look at doing is look at the money flow. So here's financial advisors, Zanetti. All right, the money starts, and it's the biggest part of budget is education. It starts with politicians. Then the money flows to bureaucrats. Then it flows to unions. Then it flows to administrators. Then it finally gets to teachers, parent, kid. Gee, we got to flip it. I mean, the money's got to follow the kid. Parents will feel emboldened and empowered, and they love their kids, and they'll start working with teachers. They're natural allies. Gosh, we have amazing teachers. And you watch what happens from the bottom up. Now administration becomes less important and can shrink. Unions and bureaucrats and the politicians, who cares? But we have to turn both these on their heads. Money goes with the kid, and authority is at the school board level in the local communities. So that's that piece. Now, on energy, did you see this report out of PNM that said, look, if we get to next summer, there's a real good chance we're going to have brownouts and blackouts in this state. And they said the reason is all this new Green Deal stuff. It isn't quite coming online the way we thought, and it's not generating the power that we thought. Meanwhile, we're shutting down the coal plant up there in Farmington.
Right.
And we're dissing you guys down here in the worst possible way with
They're all going to move to Texas if it gets worse.
All right, well, what's it going to look like? And this will sound woo-woo, but it is true. You know, the grand solar minimum, we know the sun has cycles. Typically, that means hotter summers and colder winters. PNM is basically saying, look, the energy draw that we're expecting next year is going to be here, high. Meanwhile, our capacity to provide energy is diminishing. Our margin for error is next to zero. We're trying right now to mitigate, but we're just warning you now. I mean, this is the reality of the situation. And so what we have is this wonderful part of the state that has been producing wealth for, 100 years? And shipping the money off to Santa Fe, and then Santa Fe saying, thanks for your money, now go back and do your job while we tell you that you're really bad people.
Yeah.
Can the governor flip that? On the regulation side, yes, immediately. And then you'd have to work on the legislative side if if you could switch the House to the Senate to Republican.
That has to happen as well. We're talking with Greg Zanetti, who is a candidate for the Republican nomination for governor. Right. And stick around for just a couple more minutes here. You touched on something. You said declawing the public education department.
Sure.
That's just one example of how it appears to us how the governor is running everything, is that everything has to be handled by the governor.
Right.
Top down.
Top down.
And we've seen that through the pandemic.
Right.
What, as governor, would you do differently? Everything. From what the governor has done in regards to the pandemic, things like the vaccine mandate for healthcare workers and the indoor mask mandates and these other things that have been imposed throughout the last year and a half or so?
Oh, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum as far as governance philosophy. So let's talk philosophy for a minute. Mm-hmm. Gene, there are basically two ways a society can form. One is top-down, autocratic, I'm in charge here. Think czars, kings, emperors, this kind of MLG. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how she thinks.
Right.
And it's very communist in its thinking. Mm-hmm. There's another way, and that's big community. Think families, small businesses, community, churches, charities, bottom up. What happens is as government and top-down gets bigger, it begins to erode community. That's a bad model. In fact, we need to flip it the other way. I'm a big community guy. I think we should be pushing power and authority away from Santa Fe down to the counties, and you'd hope that the counties would follow the example and push it to the cities, and the cities will push it, down to the neighborhoods. And you watch what happens here. You watch the ingenuity, the enterprise, the entrepreneurship of people when you give them freedom. And watch what happens in the state, because, Gene, we're a wealthy state. There are two kinds. By the way, the rich think differently than we do. They don't think in terms of money. They think in terms of wealth. There's wealth from the earth. Think oil, gas, timber, copper, iron, oranges, cotton, the stuff God made. Lithium, right. New Mexico is so wealthy.
I don't know that we have any lithium here.
No, but we have 4 of the 17 rare earth elements.
That's right.
And we do have aluminum, we have uranium, we have copper, we have oil and gas, we have timber, and it's all bottled up. But there's another kind of wealth. That's wealth from human hands. That's taking aluminum and making an airplane. Well, it's wealth to me. Mm-hmm. My car, my computer, my cell phone, that's wealth to me. That's a moving target, though. I mean, 150 years ago, wealth from human hands was railroads, and of course, cars, TVs, microwave ovens, and now we're here.
Right.
All right. Is New Mexico rich in wealth from human hands? Actually, with the new stuff that's coming, yes. And what is coming? Micromachinery, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. Gee, where was that stuff born? Here.
Right.
And so people say, well, I want to keep all the vocational guys, plumbers, heaters, like heating, HVAC guys, electric. Yeah, I get that, and I want that too. But I want to keep the nerds too. Mm-hmm. And so we have to change the tax structure in order to do that. But during a shift, and that's coming, that becomes possible. And we need to change, this is so boring, people are going to shut your radio station off. We got to change tort reform. We can't have it where the lawyers can sue for everything, because right now
That's what we've been doing in the legislature the last few years.
It's all we do. Our economic development plan, I'll tell you what it is. It's casinos, weed, and personal injury attorneys.
That's right.
That's what we've devolved to.
Pot and solar's going to save the day.
Right.
And all the Hollywood people at Netflix are happy because now they've got their pot.
So here's our vision. But we offer something different. All right, look, this top-down government-controlled model where they take care of every little part of you, it failed.
Yeah.
Here's our vision. And by the way, it's this part of the state that's joining them together right now in the energy fields. Mm-hmm. Gene, could you have guessed 10 years ago that we'd be drilling horizontally out a mile, blowing cracks in this stuff and bringing oil out?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, the technology's stunning. What happened in this industry despite MLG and this top-down authoritarian thing.
Yeah.
Imagine if the shackles were broken. And now think in terms of water. And I know you guys are better off in some parts of the state, but New Mexico's getting concerned about the water issue. And if we don't have water, I mean, all the stuff you and I are talking about right now,
Yeah.
it becomes kind of moot.
Yeah, how are they going to cool the Facebook servers in
Right.
Berlin if they don't have enough water?
Sorry, I'm getting
No,
carried
no,
away.
that's okay. How do folks learn more about you? What do they want? Because I've got.
I know, I
yeah.
talked too much. Go to ZanettiForGovernor.com. It's Z as in zebra, ANETTI, for governor, spell it all out, .com. And Jan, I'd love to come back and I'll just bore your audience some more.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If it doesn't work for the governor's thing, one of the guys I have on the radio, we've come up with our New Mexico plan. Because we're going to reach a point. We're going to reach a point where we're done with you people up north.
You know, I know I know you're laughing, but I've heard that more than once. And if we can't be tone deaf to this,
You know,
it's been
and
too
Texas,
unfair for too long.
I talked to some Texans. They would love to have us, and we've even worked out a deal. We're going to trade El Paso for southeastern New Mexico with New Mexico, and we'll even give them the permanent fund because in New Mexico we're going to build our own permanent fund back real fast. By the time they've depleted theirs, we'll have twice as much. Anyway, you're not running for governor of New Mexico. You're running for governor.
I'm ready to keep you here. Please stay.
Yeah, but go to the website and check it out. And I know we'll have you back.
Thank you.
Because there's a lot more we could talk about. And are you going to be out and about in town today, or
Yeah.
where if people wanted to?
Well, I'm going from here over to in just a few minutes over to Kith and Kin.
Oh, okay.
To talk to the newspaper guys.
Okay.
So anyway, I love this community. I was here last week and the week before.
Okay.
And they're just, what you all have done here. I went over to your library and saw the mural.
Yes.
The Peter heard the story.
Yes.
I thought, who are these people? The
hole in the roof, and they drop it in, and the whole.
Geniuses.
Yeah.
A little crazy, but geniuses. This is what we need, more people like you. So, yeah.
So you'll be over at Kith and Kin if folks want to pop in.
Yeah, come on over. I'll be over there about 9:30.
Okay, very good. Greg Zanetti, thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming
Gene.
by. We'll have you again.
All right.
All right.